You guys showed me some insane support on the last video, way more than I could have ever expected. You wanted more, so now we're here doing a little look at the IC build for this account, and it's actually going to be quite interesting because, well, I don't use town archers, and most people nowadays use town archers for their infinite colony. And since I'm quite limited in what heroes I can use, I have to get a little bit creative on how to actually do all these things. We just fix this real quick. I forgot that we don't need that anymore. Okay, so let's start with, I guess what E-lines I have in the build. Well, obviously, maximum cooldown, because you just kind of need that, and just a bunch of defense E's and whatever else. Just a bunch of filler stuff in here. In terms of treasures, bow doesn't really matter, since I'm not using, like, the town archers for damage or slow. Web is incredibly important, because this defense buff is actually calculated differently from the shields, so it's significantly stronger than any of these shields will ever be. Unicorn shield is still important, because it's just a very nice buff to your, like, tanking ability. I run Sharp Arrow and Power Glove right now. Sometimes, if like the healing gets too bad, it's a bit icy right now. I will swap in Red Potion and it's basically safe, but it does increase the kill time by like roughly 10 seconds. So until it like stops working, I'll keep running Sharp Arrow. For the skill tree, it's actually a bit interesting because there's some spicy choices. First of all, I run +1 arrow on all archers just to get like a tiny little amount of extra damage out of Sarah. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. The more interesting choice here is, however, in the poison tree, because I run Voodoo in IC, and well, you can see I'm missing quite a few nodes here. Why am I not getting the poison cloud duration? And I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm also running slow poison here for the extra damage, since this doesn't really matter if you do the poison immediately or a little bit later. It's still the same damage in the end. Other than that, the tree is basically what you'd expect. So, in terms of my core heroes doing like castle damage in IC, who do you think is actually responsible for like destroying the castle? This hero? Is it that hero? It's most certainly not this hero. However, he does play quite an important part here. So let's go over all of them. Surprisingly, and like unsurprisingly, Sarah is actually like the castle damager in this build. She's responsible for like at least like 90% of the castle damage, basically all of it. Perfect items for this are triple crit. Like, this is literally the best combination you can have. I calculated the damage for it. At least in my case, this is the best DPS I can get. In terms of runes, you actually want to do something weird here and go for attack speed, since like poison stacking doesn't really do much for IC, since you can't stack poison dots on the castle itself. So you just want to get the maximum damage per second possible, which is mostly achievable with attack speed here. Poison damage also works, but attack speed is just a little bit better. You do, weirdly enough, want a single poison stacking rune, because that seems to just speed up a little bit, because I guess Sarah thins out more enemies. It's weird. It's, at least from my testing, this is what was best. I just haven't like changed this item yet to have another attack speed rune. I'm kind of waiting for something better to drop, but pretty unlikely that I'll get a triple crit item with a good E-line. The best I've gotten was like a goddamn mimic chance item. For Succubus, I'm actually muling her. She is just like running random mule items with a bit of damage on her. This is also like kind of a 4 out of 4 for IC for town archers, I just realized. This is kind of hilarious, but like not like town archers are going to do anything for me. Succubus doesn't actually do a lot of castle damage here, since she gets distracted by all the monsters quite a lot. but she's also not completely useless. She thins out the crowd quite well, allowing Sarah to hit the castle more often. And Voodoo basically does the exact same thing, but like on a bigger scale. Since Voodoo like guarantees the crowd of enemies to get thinned out like every once in a while, I will never ever get overrun by enemies, which is why I'm able to only run a single CC hero here. Technically two, I'll get to that in a second, it's a bit weird. Dorothy's, ignore her, she's not here for CC. In terms of Voodoo items, basically just mule items with a bit of crit chance and poison damage. Weirdly enough, I don't combo this with Deep Assassin, because it doesn't really matter. I don't want to thin out too many monsters, because if I do, then the Dark Elf healing will be trash, and I will die. So, Dark Assassin's also here to just buff Dark Elf healing in general. The Deep Assassin debuff is basically immediately used up, and at least for the Dark Assassin debuff, there's a chance that Dark Elf will use it. In terms of Dark Elf, my items here are okay, but also not perfect. I still have not gotten a bow with +1 arrow and 2 crit lines, which is really annoying because that's quite a big damage buff. But oh well. Something that people usually don't do, but that I'm basically forced to do in this build, is to run like maximum knockback lines on my CC heroes. Because if I only go stun, enemies will just sit in front of the like enemy castle, and Sarah will never hit the castle. And with a bunch of knockback, I push everything back into the castle, so Sarah gets hits on the castle with her projectiles. Which is like the only way I have of dealing consistent castle damage in this build. DBM in this is I run a lot of knockback on here, and you'd think this doesn't do much, but this actually like halves my kill time. The difference is that insane. So, not like you'd think she's useless here, but no, actually kind of essential. Weirdly enough. The other heroes just kind of explain themselves. You've got Bishop to buff Sarah even more. You've got Druid for extra defense. Blue Defender for more defense. Single proc Stos. I am lucky enough to have this. So my healing's even better. It's kind of required when you're running something weird like this. Yeah, and Dorothy is just kind of here with attack speed lines to just apply her debuff, not really to stun or anything. I've tried with stun or knockback lines, it doesn't make like any difference really. And she still does more than something like Dark Skeleton would, or surprisingly enough, even Chrono. Chrono destabilizes this build a little bit, and doesn't really make it faster either, so I prefer running Dorothy over Chrono. I think that was everything in terms of heroes. I mean, the towers don't really matter, they're just here with like CDE's muled defense items. I don't know if I've explained the Voodoo thing yet, I don't remember, so I'm gonna do it again. The reason why I don't get the Poison Cloud duration nodes, or any kind of duration really, is if you instantly apply Voodoo's poison damage, then a lot more things will die instantly, which is bad for Dark Elf healing. So we want to extend the poison a little bit. So we don't actually want to run Poison Cloud duration, like the negative one on here. I don't think we want to run the positive one on here either, because that's just going to make the kills slower. Like the castle kills itself, but I think just running none of that on here is ideal. You could throw a bunch of like poison damage runes on here, and it's probably the best way to go. So that's basically the build. And why don't we take a little look how this actually runs? I'm gonna have a timer running, and we'll just wait and see how long this takes. I am currently at a 10.7-ish ratio. And that by itself is already pretty okay. It's pretty bad when you compare it to most Town Archer accounts, but this isn't the Town Archer account, so it's impressive in its own right. But the next interesting thing is, you'd expect this to be really slow, since it's not town archers, no consistent castle damage, but I have consistent castle damage, and it's a hero that is very well known for doing a lot of single target DPS. You can see the healing in this build is a little bit unstable with Sharp Arrow. It looks really bad, yeah, but don't worry, it kinda averages out over time, and I still haven't lost yet because of this, and I can always swap in Red Potion, which basically just lets me go on forever. But as long as it doesn't die, it's fine. We just want to maximize the kill time and not waste any tab whatsoever on this. That was the first kill. That was actually like really, really fast, even for my standards. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep this running until it dies, I guess, and we'll have like an average time of how long the kills take at the end of the video.